Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Ask Olaf the Violin Maker. Today I am gonna show you how I set up one of my Salvatore Lombardi violins. It's a really beautiful violin that my makers make. Firstly, the varnish is really beautiful, and they're also very good on the timbre. All the workmanship's amazing, and yeah, we work together. I basically work together with them to get the design 100% right. It's got that beautiful, deeper, a bit more sonorous sound, like a bit richer sound, but still has that, that beautiful brilliance. Yes, and so today I am going to set it up. When my makers send it to me, they don't quite fit the pegs. They don't quite plane the fingerboard to my specifications. I rather do it here in-house. And also, I mean, to me, it's really important that I fit my own bridge and all those things. So here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fit the pegs, and then I'm going to plane the fingerboard. And pegs fitting is super important because that's just going to make tuning so much easier. So the pegs aren't always 100% round, so that's one thing I have to check. But this one's actually good. This is very good, this one. So I just very carefully check how well they fit, and you can see here the peg is perfectly round. By the shiny bits, so I just put it in here, try it out, and you can see the shiny bits are 100% even. If they weren't even, then you know it doesn't fit in some places, but this is beautiful. Like, these are perfectly fitting pegs. As far as perfectly round pegs, and I'm just fitting them with the reamer. This is called the reamer, and the other tool I use is the peg shaver, which is this tool here. It's like a pencil sharpener, but I don't actually need to use it for these pegs. Luckily, my makers have done a very good job at getting these pegs 100% round. And they're also seasoned pegs, so the timber isn't super fresh, so it's not going to change, which is very important. I'll just finish one peg and then I'll do the others without you watching on, unless you want this video to be 25 minutes long. Okay, so the peg fits. Now we just put on some peg paste, make sure that it turns beautiful. You would have heard the noise, the creaking noise before. We don't want to hear any creaking noises. We just want the peg to move super smoothly. And it just makes tuning so much easier. Here we go. That's beautifully done now. I love these pegs too. They're absolutely beautiful. They've got that lovely shape. Then with the white, so it's the ebony with the light timber, and it just looks really stunning. Getting very close here. Look, another very important ingredient to my violins is coffee. This one is an Ethiopian Yirgacheffe, which is absolutely delightful. It's roasted by my friends at Black Sheep Coffee. Okay, that's the final peg done. Now onto the fingerboard. So I have to plane the fingerboard now. I've shown this before, so I might not show all of it, but I'll show parts of it. So first I have to take the nut off. Okay, so I've got to put a protective guard on the violin. This is really important because the tools I'm going to be using can leave some horrendous scratches in the varnish, and I don't want to do that. So the wife of my maker that makes these instruments actually makes the varnish, and it's just a beautiful varnish. It basically bubbles away on the roof of their workshop for quite a long time. So she showed me these huge jars that they use to season the varnish. So it's quite amazing. That's a very traditional oil varnish. The recipe that would have been used in Italy, 200-300 years ago, maybe even longer. Now, one thing that's very important to me is that the curvature of the fingerboard is right. So I check with my template. I made this template actually when I was working in Germany 30 years ago. I still use the same template. And that same shape of template where I was working, they had a lot of Stradivarius, Guarnerius violins that solos would use. They use that exact same shape. So it's always good to know. Okay, I finished planing, so I'm just going to use a scraper to make sure this is all even. Now it's on to sanding. You've seen this process before as well. I've shown how I plane a fingerboard in another video. So I'm not going to show you the whole process, so I'll just show you the start and then the last bit. I'll show you the roughest sandpaper. Alright, I'll see you soon. Okay, I got all those done, and now I'm just onto the finest sandpaper. So I can put my sanding block away. This is beautiful, nice and smooth. For a good sound and ease of playing is so important that the fingerboard's really smooth, has the right shape. Also, it's slightly concave from end to end, so it's very slightly concave. So it's a bit hollow, but it's totally even, like it's totally evenly concave. It's not like, quite often they're really wobbly, and this is very even from end to end. So it's a very smooth curve. That's very important. It's less than a millimeter, like the amount of concave, but it does actually make a big difference in the clarity of the sound. So the pegs are done now. The fingerboard's done. The fingerboard, the nut height isn't done yet, so I'll do that in a minute. And I'll just move on to the bridge now. But first, I'm going to sharpen my tools. It's really important to have a really sharp knife when you're working, because you just end up with a better quality cut on your bridge. So also, I'm actually going to go and wash my hands before I cut the bridge, because otherwise the bridge just ends up really dirty. But I'll sharpen this knife first. So I've just got a lever that I'm going to do the rest on. And the way I check how sharp my knife is, it's always a shaving test, and well, definitely shaves, but I'm even able to cut some hairs off, like in the middle. So it is definitely sharp, and I hardly have any hairs on my arm here because I keep testing it. Alright, time to cut a bridge. No, I'll wash my hands first. I'll be back. I'm back. The knife is sharp, and I'm going to use one of these beautiful bridges on there. It's got really fine grain, got beautiful medullary rays. So medullary rays are these little things. They're almost like very tiny flames on there. They're called medullary rays, and you know, they need to be good as well for a bridge. So the first step is, of course, to fit the bridge, the base of the bridge, the bottom of the bridge to the top plate. That's a bit of a lengthy process, so I am not gonna keep the camera rolling. So I just finished fitting the bridge. So the really important next step is getting the bridge height right. So I check down very carefully. I may do some final adjustments once I've got the strings on. But right now, to just mark the string height out like that. Then I will mark the curvature onto the bridge like this. I'll get this curvature right. And no, this is not going to be a flat bridge. It's going to be a perfectly curved bridge, which is going to make life a lot easier for players. So the curve's been perfectly worked out so that it's easy to cross the strings with the bow, like with the movement this way, but that you don't accidentally hit 2 strings or 3 strings at the same time. Now, while I keep working on this bridge, I'm going to re-thickness it, and then I'm going to thickness it properly, and then I'm going to just carve it out. But I won't, you know, I've done other videos where you can watch me carve a bridge. This one here is one of my high level bridges that I use for the better quality instruments, like the Salvatore Lombardi. Yeah, so I won't have you watch in on the process. Yeah, so I'm nearly finished the bridge. I'm just doing a few final touches. It's so much nicer cutting the bridge when your knife is really sharp. I'm just doing a couple of the chamfers on the side, and then it's time to sand the bridge. There we go, I'm happy with that. I've already marked the strings out. This shape is one that I've worked out. Acoustically it works very well, and it's very, very carefully weighted. So, all right, I'm just going to sand the bridge. Beautiful. Now I've just got to put just a couple of cuts, put on some oil and the stamp. It's time to put the strings on after this. And of course I still have to adjust the height on the nut, get that 100% right. Okay, got to get the string spacing right as well here. When I do the string grooves, I make sure that the strings slide very evenly over the grooves so they don't break early. If there's a kink in the strings, they could just break prematurely. Just doing the final finishing of the nut. Make sure it has a nice shape. Putting some pencil in the grooves, and the instrument's pretty much ready for the strings. Alrighty, I popped on a fine tuner. Pretty excited to hear the first sounds of this Salvatore Lombardi violin. I know it's going to be a beautiful sound, but it's always special to hear the very first tones that a violin has ever made. And to be part of, you know, getting this violin ready for a player to probably be played for many, many years, you know, decades even. And this violin's going to become part of a violinist's story. You know, we'll see who falls in love with this violin, but I know I've sent Salvatore Lombardi instruments all over the world, from Asia to America, Australia, Europe, and I really get a lot of really fantastic feedback about the beautiful sound that these instruments, and they just look so beautiful. I mean, Lombardy is the area where Stradivarius, so it's the region where Stradivarius and a lot of famous makers were, and so the name is all about celebrating this great Italian tradition of violin making. I make sure that my makers use this beautiful Italian varnish. Like I said, the wife of my maker, she's responsible for varnishing the instrument, and she does such a beautiful job. So they kind of add a little bit of wearing into the instrument, so it doesn't look super new straight away. It kind of has the look and feel of a beautiful old violin, and they even build in a little bit of wear and tear kind of a look, you know, a little bit of a worn look. But it's just amazing how wonderful they make the instruments, and they are absolute perfectionists. And that's what I mean, I'm a perfectionist as well, and that's something I really love about their work. Absolutely every instrument is handmade, is beautifully made, and everything is meticulously checked. And then of course it gets my setup, and you know, so there's another perfectionist just to make sure that everything is 100%. Anyway, I'm putting in this sound post, so I'm very close to being ready to hear the first sounds. Let's tune it up to an A. Alright, I might actually move across into my shop area to try the instrument out, so get a better feel for the instrument. Alrighty, okay, so I'm not going to need my glasses trying out instruments. Oh, need needs a lot of playing in still, but this is my Salvatore Lombardi. An absolutely beautifully made instrument. What I love about it is that slightly deeper, rich sound, but it still has that real beauty and sweetness as well. You know, it's not one of my cheaper instruments. It's at $5,500 Australian dollars, but I absolutely love it. I love the way it's made. I love the way it looks. I love the materials. I love the sound. So it's an instrument that I know gives a lot of players a lot of joy, especially you know, it's actually really perfect for hobby players as well, but also for up and coming players. It's got that slight sweetness, you know. Yeah, there's something truly special about the Salvatore Lombardi. Anyway, that's my episode today. It's, you know, it's about how I set this instrument up, what I love about it. It's probably a little bit of a plug for the instrument, so don't take that personally. I'm also a violin maker, and my goal is to really help musicians find good quality instruments, and I found this instrument. I absolutely love it. It really works well for a lot of players, so I just wanted to showcase it today and also just show how I set it up. Okay, see you guys next time. Remember to like and subscribe and keep making beautiful music and practice and just have fun playing. See you guys.